Hey, we're finally live. All right. What's happening, guys? Hello, friends there on Facebook and YouTube. Welcome back to another episode of The Big Show. Today, I want to talk to you guys about something that I believe that many of you are going to eventually run into. I think a lot of you guys out there have been in unpleasant or downright horrible relationships that have put a considerable amount of damage on some of your guys' hearts. The truth is that even though these wounds will eventually heal, they will leave a lasting scar. And since many of us don't want to do life alone, that means that we're going to have to eventually get back out there on the dating market and meet someone new. Now, although that might sound obvious to many of you guys, what may not be obvious or what you might be overlooking is the amount of baggage that you'll be bringing into this new relationship. And the reality is that if you have even a smidget of a heart left in that chest of yours, you'll eventually be offering it up to the new person after it's been stomped on. So how do we make sure that we don't bleed on the people who never cut us? Well, one way is by understanding what feelings you're running to, by identifying them once they happen, and by properly communicating with them to your new partner and working together so that way they don't become a problem. That said, today what we're going to do is we're going to address the things that happen when you're finally in a healthy relationship after being in a toxic one. And here to help me traverse the open waters of this topic is none other than the creator and of Pissed Off Parent and self-proclaimed sci-fi nerd. Give it up one time for Dwayne Ward. And if you guys don't notice, to his right, his beautiful wife, Brandy Ward, has joined us for the very first time on the Big Show podcast. She's been an avid listener and watcher of the Big Show, and she's always putting in some funny comments and stuff. So I decided, let's go ahead and just bring her on, because the stories out there, Brandy, are that you yourself have a couple interesting stories to share about maybe some relationships that weren't so healthy yourself.
Definitely.
And I'm guessing that's probably a lot of it do with the guy next to you. Is that right? Or is he the toxic one, or is he the healthy one?
Believe it or not, he's the healthy one.
He's the healthy one. Okay,
He's the healthy one, yes.
Because him and I have a very toxic relationship, and I'm thinking about leaving him. I'm not sure. I'm seeking counseling for all the bad things he does to me. But
yes, definitely.
Well, yeah. I mean, toxic and healthy. I wanted to show off just kind of how in tune we are. The thing's not working, but we both got matching T-shirts.
Oh my goodness! Metallica. Where do you find these graphic T-shirts?
I just find them everywhere.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what we do.
All right. Well, hey, whatever
I'm
works.
always on a mission now, so.
Yes, and you do a good job, because he always brings a brand new T-shirt to every episode.
Yeah.
And we actually talked about maybe doing like a top 10 best graphic T-shirts that Dwayne Ward's ever worn. Like we'll just do a countdown on just the best graphic T-shirts out there. But friends on Facebook and YouTube, if you're new to the show, let me be the first to say that Dwayne is somewhat of an expert in the realm of toxic relationships himself. He understands firsthand the damage that such relationships causes and how it can actually affect the next partner once you find that next partner. Yeah. But before we actually dive in, I do want to share some gratitude with you guys. Not too long ago, Dwayne, Eric, and myself were brainstorming about putting together a brand new podcast where we can talk to men, talk to women alike about how to pick themselves up in a world that tries its best to keep you down. And I'm happy to say that today is the 30th episode of The Big Show. 30th episode. So it's been a long time coming. Yeah, a lot of work and a lot of talks and stuff have gone into it. I've been able to read some wonderful stories about how this podcast has helped some of you out there, and even feel a little closeness in a friendship with our reoccurring viewers. We see a lot of reoccurring people that come on, and from time to time, they'll post on Dad Talk Today, and they'll throw out shout outs to Dwayne, Eric, and I, and sometimes they email us directly, and a lot of times they just sound off in the comments. But, I just want to say that, the podcast, if you feel that it's, if you feel closer to us, then that's great, because we really want to do that. And I truly, truly appreciate all the support and feedback you guys have given on the content that we put out. And all I ask in return, All I ask is for one thing, and that is to engage in the content. And here's what I mean. I don't care if you engage by subscribing, if it's by commenting, if it's by just hitting the like button, or if it's actually sharing the videos. I just want your guys' support and engaging if you feel that Dwayne and I deliver value to your life. So, try to do something like that. And, that said, let's hop right into it, because this is a topic that I think is going to really hit home with a lot of people, because there's some really crappy people out there, both men and women. I don't know where these people were born from, but I tell you, whenever I hear some of the stories about the online dating market and what some of the women have to go through to sift through all the BS and try to find the kind of guy they're looking for, or the BS that these guys have to sift through, I'm telling you, some of these stories are just mind-blowing, Mm-hmm. Emerging from a toxic relationship, it can feel like an insurmountable challenge a lot of times. The wounds are fresh, trust shattered, fears loom large. It's like you're walking through a minefield of landmines,
Mm-hmm.
And you're just petrified that your next step might trigger an explosion of past traumas. And the ghost of that toxic relationship, it haunts your present.
Oh, yeah.
It's always in the back of your mind, It's like casting a long, dark shadow over your future relationships. And we know that's not what we want to do, but how can we prevent? How can we help feeling the way we feel when we come out battered and beaten, some metaphorically and some physically, from the relationships that we've had in the past? Finding a healthy relationship, guys, after a toxic one, it can be a transformative experience. It's like, emerging from like a long, dark tunnel into the bright light of a new day. And, it's like, it's about healing. It's about growth. It's about learning to love and learning to trust all over again. It's a journey filled with a myriad of emotions too, things like fear and anxiety and doubt. And often it's a crippling lack of self-confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Think about how we feel when we get out of these toxic relationships, from the person that we used to date telling us that we are worthless, that we're just scum on the bottom of their shoe, that I'm not manly enough, or she gets told that she's not pretty enough, or whatever the case may be, fill in the blank. We go into these new relationships thinking that we actually don't even deserve to have a good, healthy partner. And it's sad, each new encounter, it becomes a potential trigger, and it starts to make you question your worth. It makes you start to kind of question your ability to love and to be loved in a healthy way.
Yep.
So on this podcast, what Dwayne and I are going to do is we're going to prove to you some of the insights into how we can actually rebuild this trust, heal the wounds, and reclaim the power in the aftermath of a toxic relationship. But before I do, what I want to do is I want to actually, bring Dwayne into this one, because if any of you guys have been watching for a while, Dwayne has talked oftentimes about, him having, his third wife, Brandy, next to him. And the first wife, I'm guessing she was the worst one, right?
As far as length of time, yes. That was a 15 year marriage. When I got married, I say I've been married 2.5 times, because with number 2, it was pretty well. There was like a couple little red flags, or there's a couple there was some red flags. But the second the ring went on her finger, she went completely psycho, throwing stuff. I could not get her out quick enough. It was insane, and it was just, again, as soon as that ring went on, she went off completely off the rails. Her and her kids, the entire family, just went nuts. It was like it was a ticking time bomb. But yeah, lots of trauma, lots of experience in that area.
I know, man. And I remember seeing some videos of Dwayne walking through his house, and what a disaster that house was. And she was a stay-at-home mom. Dwayne was out there busting his rear end trying to provide for her, and she was sitting home, not doing much. Hell, seriously, and I said it before, Dwayne, I am not joking. When you showed me that video, I thought it was an episode of Squatters. I really, it was that.
Hoarders, yeah.
So, Dwayne will be the first person to tell you that a bad relationship will make you feel more alone than when you were single?
Well, I told you that the way that I decided how the day was going to go is when I went to work. If the custodian for the office that I worked in put blue water in the toilet bowl, the cleanup bowl or whatever,
Yeah.
I called it. I would say that's going to be a good day. I call it the blue bowl day. This is not a made up story. This is how I lived my life for a number of years because my life was so bad. And the transformative piece of it when I met Brandy and our relationship, and she had been through her own version of hell in her relationship, and we, in ways, we almost want to call it trauma bonding because we did when we started talking. We would, and I don't know about you, we've talked about it, but we haven't like really dove into it. But I'm sure at the beginning it was kind of I wanted to one up her. And then she like dropped down the double snake eyes, and I'm like, okay, you got me. That's I'm not on that one. But we kind of trauma bonded to a degree, and then we met. Things started working out. She figured out she was going to hang out with a nerd for once, and then things kind of blossomed from there. But if you look at my life before and you look at my life now, it's night and day. I mean, well, she's responsible for all this nerd stuff.
She's responsible for that?
She is responsible. I mean, I was the lover of all things nerd, but she's the one twisting my arm to go, hey, why don't you get this? Or she would buy it for me. I mean, and with
it's probably because she knew that there's no chance in the world you'll ever leave her because no one's going to be checking on you.
That's my Hallmark card for never.
Right. Yeah. That's called job security, my friend.
That's right.
Yeah. But I mean, having a partner that is a partner and was supportive and then going through, because again, it wasn't in a vacuum. I didn't get divorced. And then got through everything and then met her. I had kids from the previous relationship. Yeah. When we got together, she had to deal with that piece of it. And then all those different things, her own trauma she had to deal with. I mean, it was a mixed bag. It was like a slow cooker of craziness, just trying to like build the family up because we were, having our own separate issues, then coming together, then trying to build a family in a blended world with all those external forces. It was insane.
Well, and it was your kids had stuff, my kid had stuff, and it was all like coming at us all at the same time while we were trying to get a relationship going.
Yeah.
That's and that's a lot. Like when you think about it, right? Brandy had her past traumas, you had yours, both of you had children. You're trying to bring this blended family together and try to make a brand new family, and the kids have their own experiences and their own feelings about this new family, I'm sure. And boy, I tell you, I have to tip my hat to those out there who have children that are doing the best they can to try to make these relationships work. Because I have to assume, I don't have any children, but I have to assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I could be, but I have to assume that it's more challenging to be in a relationship with children.
Oh yeah,
to start the relationship than if the man and woman were single, right? Because
it
has
by
to be.
Far. Well,
Right.
Because the new man, the new woman is coming into the house, and you've got to, it's a dance, and then there's the kids are trying to get to know each other, and then there's the competition. You want to play fair with both sides, or both of them, and pull them in as one big unit. And that just takes a lot of time. And a lot of people try to microwave that relationship. And it's a slow cooker by far. I mean, it is something where I would say, years later, I mean, me and
just very recently, actually.
Yeah. I mean, recently things have gotten better, like with, her, bio daughter, my bonus daughter, and getting that relationship repaired. And it was very fractured and trying to keep that going along. And there was just so many different integral pieces that are working together and working apart really to make that work. And then, we have two separate, I'm the biological parent of my boys. She's the biological parent of her daughter. And then we adopted the umbrella structure, the, man of the house, woman of the house. We have the very traditional roles in the household. And, there was the pushback because I would say, hey, we all got to clean our rooms. And then she would then go to her mom and go, well, do I really have to?
Oh, yeah.
And they would pit each other again. I mean, just it's in a traditional family, you have the challenges where, you know, if dad says no, go ask mom. We've all done the game with our parents. It's 10 times worse in a blended family because of those things. And we had the outside forces that were dealing with our respective exes, dealing with that. There was just so many pieces, and, you know, we really adopted a slow cooker approach to it. And that, a lot of laughter, a lot of love, and a lot of, you know, just, you know, a lot of long night drives.
Well, and not only were we trying to build a relationship, but the kids, you know, they were especially me, this is mostly my fault, but, you know, everything of mine, I was like, well, she just came out of this horrible relationship with her father and I can't do this. And so that was kind of our struggle. So I had to learn that very quick. I was like, well, you know, it's him and I first. And some days I still struggle with that, but,
Sure.
you know, so we have the whole guilt trip from the kids also. So that was very, you know, like, how do we sort that out as well?
Yeah, I think the structure is, you know, it's God, man, woman next to each other, and then the children, and, you know, in blended families and true single families, it's reversed a little bit, and they like to get in the way, and you know, keeping all that first. It was a struggle. It was a strain.
I bet. I mean, it sounds like it is. I mean, just the past traumas and heartbreak from the relationships you guys have had could have been enough right there in itself to just make the new relationship not even work. But then you throw in the personalities of children and the challenges that come along with that. I have to tip my hat to you guys. You guys have done a great job, and you guys eventually got married. And how long have you guys been married now?
Feels like forever.
You answer.
I don't want to say because I can't remember right now.
I know.
Oh my God. I can't
Officially married like 4 years, I think.
I think 5.
5. We're going on 5. December 9th is our wedding anniversary. But when you talk about trauma and it's little things, I mean, we could talk about the big things, but little things like when I would, you know, like I'm a playful guy. So I would, you know, I'd grab her shoulder or something, or I make very, you know, comments that I would make that to me are just completely funny. Well, her ex made those same comments in a much different way. They weren't playful, or she would say something to me, and I would be reminded of what my ex would say to me, and we had to learn different things. I mean, there's like a number of stories, like, you know, with your hands. I don't know if you want to tell that story. But like are you okay to tell that? Okay. So we were, you know, wrestling or whatever. We were wrestling. We're just going to leave it at that. But I grabbed her hand and she like jerked back, and I was like, whoa, you know, what's going on here? And then she sighed. I'll let her tell the rest of the story. But
did she recognize the arm bar? Is that what it was? She was trying
she hates that about me. I always do the arm bars on her. She hates that.
No, but actually with my ex, he would actually both of my ring fingers he broke at several separate different times, so that in his exact words were, he's going to break them now so that I would never want to put a wedding ring on it later. Well, little did he know, now I have a better one. So, but little things like that, that, you know, it's still to this day, I'll go get my nails done or something, and they'll do like hand massages or something like that. And you know, small little triggers of little things that happen like that, but
and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. Things just like that, you know, like what can people expect to happen if they, let's just say when you guys find a man or a woman that fits or checks off the boxes and it's finally a healthy relationship, what can you expect that you'll feel or things that will happen when you finally get there? So I definitely want you guys to chime in here. You know, I mean, Brandy, it sounds like you had a really, really rough shake. I mean, some of these relationships that you've been in sounds like you are one bad relationship away from getting 30 cats and calling it a day, you know?
I was too.
Metallica.
I had zero desire. Yeah, I was never going to date again or anything. And then
the black and white picture came out.
That's right. And then Dwayne, I mean, I know personally, you know, from hearing your stories, just how awful yours were. I mean, this is YouTube and Facebook, this is a guy right here that will look his ex-wife in the eyes and tell her that what he likes best about their relationship is that she's no longer in it.
Yeah.
So, Dwayne,
And very, very, he can say that.
yeah. So Dwayne, you and Brandy, share with me a little bit about your experience with the toxic relationships you guys have had, and how you eventually found a healthy one. Did you have to, like, when you guys were out there on the dating market? If you don't mind sharing, because there's probably some people out there who are online right now. I assume online, because that seems to be how we meet people nowadays, right? Did you have to be online a long time? Did you have to go through a bunch of horror stories? I mean, was it not so bad? I mean, tell us a little bit about the toxic relationship and how you eventually found the healthy one.
I'll go first. Luckily, I had literally escaped, and me and my daughter went and lived out with my dad in Glenrose. So I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's a very small town.
Country.
Yes. And so she was in school. I was in all kinds of volunteer projects and things like that. So I didn't want to date, but a few of my friends talked me into just go online and see what there is. Well, unfortunately, every single one of them either knew because they went to my daughter's school, or I met them at another event. So I was just like, okay, I can't date these. I mean, overall, not that I have a problem with overalls, but just all, I never had intentions of staying there and living there. And one day actually where I was going was to Fort Worth it was one of the divorce hearings. I don't remember what it was. It wasn't too important because I was by myself, and I was sitting there and I got this message from Tinder, and I was like, oh gosh, not another one. But luckily I had, it has that GPS tracking kind of. And so it had followed where I went, and all of these new guys had opened up, and this damn black and white picture shows up, and I'm like, fine, I'm going to see what it says. And unfortunately, he said exactly every single word that I needed to hear.
On his profile? That's what it said on his profile?
No, he sent me a message.
Gotcha.
Chat GPT.
Yeah. And I wasn't even going to answer him back. And I sat there the whole time, and I kept reading it. And I was like, dang it. And so I was like, it can't be real, but it was.
A few months ago, maybe about 5 or 6 months ago, I did a podcast on how to set up a dating profile. I don't know if you ever caught that one or not, Brandy. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that I was teaching guys to do with their profile picture is to switch it up. And what I had mentioned is that, when women are swiping, they're just kind of going through the motions here. So you do what's called a what? What is it again, Dwayne? You remember?
Pattern disruption.
A pattern disrupt. And what that means is that you take a picture maybe in front of a yellow wall or something that's just not the norm, right? Well, what he did was he did a pattern disrupt by making that picture black and white.
Yes, I did.
So you scrolled by a bunch of colored pictures, and then you hit the black and white one, which caused you to sit there for maybe another 3 seconds to try to figure out what's going on with this guy.
Oh, yeah.
The rest is history. Boom. Look at him now. And he's all happy. You're happy. You got the whole Voltron and Transformers family behind you. Life is good.
Yes.
Have you learned your lesson yet?
Yes. Don't do it.
So can you share some of the differences that you've noticed between your toxic relationship and now your current healthy one?
Definitely. I had a debit card, but I couldn't use it. I had to call I couldn't even stop and get gas without. Yeah, I had to call and ask him if I could get gas. And I had to, every day we left for work at the same time, I had to talk to him most of the way to work. I had to let him know when I dropped my kid off at school, and he knew exactly how long it would take me to get to work. I had to call him in the parking garage. Then I had to call him when I got to my desk so that he knew that it was calling from my phone number from my work. And then he would call me and email me throughout the day, different things, just to make sure that I was still at work and all of these things. And now I I can go anywhere I want. I can do anything that
Went
I
to Vegas.
want. Yeah.
He
And
went
I'm
to
like,
Vegas a few weeks ago. Yeah.
yeah. It was the weirdest thing when we first started dating, because I was like, well, first of all, I didn't even think I could do anything by myself, because I either had to be on the phone or have him with me. And I think I had gone to just the grocery store or something. And I was like, this is kind of weird. He's not calling me or not. But then my brain was like, oh, he's mad at me. Like I've done something wrong. What am I going to do? Yeah. I was like, what do I do? So I hurried up and I got home and I came in and I was, a little like, oh, I don't know what to. And he was like, why are you home? Like, I was like, so it's just those little things like that. Those are huge that even still to this day, I'll be at work or something. And I'll like, I haven't heard from him all day. And I'll text him and he's like, yeah, just over here working. Yeah. So it's totally like black and white with that.
And that's extreme. I mean, that guy, he wanted to know your every move.
He was crazy. Very.
Did he get cheated on? Is that why he's like that?
No, he was the cheater.
And that's something.
In every word, the reason that he did that is because all day long, the reason that he called me at my desk is because I worked in a big hospital. So every day I went into the stairwell and I was, having relations with the guy or with all the doctors and things like that. And I'm like, I couldn't dare even do that because I'm on the phone with you all the time. And we lived in Dallas, and I had an expedition at the time. And the reason that I had that car was because I would always pull over on the side of the road and, people would stop me. And I was like, gosh, I wish people hardly even talk to me, much less, all of these things. But that's how seriously controlling that he was. And
but the flip side of that was he was the one doing it. He was
cheating the whole time.
And out of all my years of coaching men and coaching women, I have absolutely noticed this. I've noticed that the people who claim they want no drama in their lives are the ones who oftentimes bring all the drama.
Yep.
Thieves,
every time.
Thieves are always worried about people stealing from them, and people who are cheating on their significant others are always thinking that their others are cheating on them. It's like the hell that they've created for themselves. Wow. Well, that's a lot. I mean,
that's the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah,
really.
I mean, if you want to listen to a 3-hour 3 hours probably get you chapter 1. It's a long and painful, but it's when we met, I read a lot of books, and just, how I am, figuring out the best way, because, hearing those pieces of information and wanting her to be her best self. I know it sounds kind of corny, but I think a person is happy. If the person's happy on their own, then they're going to bring happiness to the relationship and make the 1 + 1 = 3 kind of thing.
Right.
And, hearing some of the stories that she went through, I'm like, I'm not going to do that. And then I'm going to find ways to make sure that, incrementally, because it wouldn't be one of those where you just open it wide open, but to incrementally go, do the freedoms and all that in the context of the relationship, and then have her feel safe and trusting and all those things that she didn't feel. And over time, there'd be benefits coming back from that. But that was seeing what she'd went through, like, again, when her fingers that, I made a conscious effort not to touch her hand, or, words that I would normally use in just normal conversation that's funny to guys, or just funny in general, were said to her in a very a mean way. So I refrained from saying those words. And then, obviously over time, those actions, with me anyway, is no longer an issue. They don't impact her, which lets me know that she's healed from those things. I'm still, cautious about it, but, is when you're with that person, you care about that person, you figure out, hey, how can I make this person their best self ever? And then, work that relationship.
So, on the Big Show podcast, the Big Show podcast is largely derived for helping men, but we actually have more female viewers than any other show on Dad Talk Today. So here's what I want to do. I would really like to know from both of you, Brandy and Dwayne. Can you give those who are listening right now some advice? And the question is what advice would you give someone, guys, who recently left a toxic relationship and is hoping to find a healthier one? What advice would you give them?
And you've already met them, or you're still looking for them?
They're still looking. Like, let's say they just finally got out, right? And you remember how you felt. You felt liberated. You felt like you're free. You probably felt like you just got out of jail, perhaps in some way, right?
Oh, I was never going to do it again. Never,
Right.
ever.
Because, what I hear from time to time, even from the guys, but, guys will just broad brush the entire female population and say females are all this, and
evil,
right. And the females will look at guys and go, where are all the good men? There's no good men out there. I have to imagine that you probably feel defeated. I mean, after getting, beat down and, emasculated as a man or disrespected as a woman, and then you get online and you realize that it's a bunch of raunchy filth where couples are online trying to get you to join a threesome or something, or, you got people who are catfishing people, and, just all you guys will just send, eggplant pictures that are unsolicited to women. Guys, stop doing that.
Nobody wants to see that.
I didn't do
No
that.
one wants to see that.
I wanted to shout with her, so I didn't send her one.
You know what, guys? Go ahead and keep on doing them, because you're just making the good men like me look good. You're making us look way, way better. But you guys, I don't know what it is about that stupid stuff. But, there's so much just raunchy, disgusting. I mean, yes, I get it. You got to dig through the mud to find gold. Fair. But man, this mud's muddy. It's muddy out there, right? So if a person, a man or a woman, has just gotten out of a bad relationship and they're probably at the lowest point of their life, they're not very trusting of people. They're probably not very ambitious about, getting out there and doing it. What advice would you give them?
Really is one, you got to work through your own trauma. I mean, there's going to be trauma that you don't really get over trauma. You just learn how to deal with it. So like, again, using the Brandy's hand thing, for her, I mean, obviously I would say, hey, I'm not going to touch her hand. I learn about it, but she would learn, like, okay, this person is not like the other person. But really it's working on yourself to figure out ways to manage whatever trauma you've been through and work through those mental issues before you start dating somebody else. A lot of people will like jump person to person to person. They never heal. And then they carry that baggage and trauma to their next relationship and sabotage it. That, it's a lot, because a lot of people, they aren't willing to, go in for the long haul. They're like, they're smorgasbord. They're like, okay, if you're not the 3 6s or the 7s now, I don't want you. Or, there's I guess a difference between having your boundaries, having, what you want, but then there's the unrealistic expectation. People kind of like, they go in that pendulum, they go one direction or the other. They'll expect, the guy to be, or the girl to be 110% what they want.
Yeah.
But not like, well, I mean, I just say Brandy gave the nerd a chance and look how that turned out. I mean, jury's still out, but, it maybe look outside your comfort zone. But, one thing really is just have your boundaries. You need to go, I am not going to put up with this. If you were in a verbally abusive relationship, manipulative, lies and things, to say, look, this is it. And the first hint, do not ignore the red flag, and don't be afraid to say, I'm out of here. I mean, these are basic boundaries. Don't lie to me. Don't cheat on me. Don't verbally abuse me. Don't hit me. Don't, this should be common sense to most people.
And I don't think you're asking for much.
Yeah, I'm not saying, hey, you got to be able to understand the difference between Transformers and GoBots, although we did talk about that a few times. Still a little upset about that. But, having your boundaries in place and then looking out there, and then, but also you need to be a good person on your side. You need to be honorable, trustworthy. You can't expect someone else to be that way if you're not that way yourself.
Right.
That, and people say they want something, but they really don't. That's a whole other thing. We both know somebody that, says they want one thing and then they somehow find a person that fulfills that and they screw it up. That person's never healed from whatever trauma they had.
Right. Those are all great points, and I appreciate you guys sharing because this is definitely personal stuff. But I think everyone listening can definitely relate to you guys. Let me go through a few things that I want to share with you guys about what you guys can actually expect whenever you finally find that guy, whenever you finally find that gal after coming from a toxic relationship. And the very first thing you guys are probably going to realize is that you're skeptical at first.
Oh, yeah.
When you've been in a toxic relationship, it's normal to question the intentions of that new person. The skepticism is a natural defense. It's like a defense mechanism.
Yeah, I had, unfortunately, my ex was the only guy I had ever been with. I knew him since I was in second grade, went to school with him all, we graduated together. He was my next door neighbor. So that was all that I knew. For the longest time, I knew it wasn't normal, but I just thought that was what I was supposed to have because that's all I had ever had. And I certainly wasn't going to say anything to anybody. So I think part of that is, you have to figure out that was probably the hardest part for me was to figure out what was normal. Yeah. And like, are these people, well, the guys, are they really being nice to you or do they want one thing from you? Yeah. Or so I like that to be sure and figure out what what's normal. What are you looking for?
Sure. And I think that, that's fair to say, when you're that man was all that you had to kind of go against. Right. I mean, and there might've been a small part of you that actually think that, maybe all guys are like this. Maybe this is how it is to be in the space of a man. And it's nice to know that you are seeing that what he did to you is not the norm, But, I'm sure that when you went into that relationship with Dwayne all those years back, you probably anticipated negative outcomes, or you might have misinterpreted actions as like red flags, even when they're not.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of the positive things that he would do, I would try and turn them to the only thing I ever knew, which was negative.
Right.
And I would always, a lot of the times I would assume that, whatever he was trying to do or to say was,
yeah.
I'd try to start a fight or he would try to talk to me about something and I would automatically just go to yelling and screaming because that's all I had ever done was yelled and screamed and got, if I didn't participate, then it just got worse and worse and worse. So that's all I knew. And that was that was really hard to learn. And then once I finally realized what he was doing, I was like, oh, wow, this is pretty cool. This is not the way, this is the way that it really should have been all those years. So
here's a total unscripted example. If I were to buy you a teddy bear and flowers, what does that mean to your traumatized self?
Definitely. Yeah. Well, you used to buy Olivia's stuff. So just a quick story of what that is he would every single night, pretty much every night, he would drink or do drugs or
not me.
No, the ex. He would drink or do drugs starting about 4:00 if he worked. Like he didn't even have a job is what a loser he was. But if he did, around that time, he would start drinking, doing drugs, whatever he normally would do. And the later it got, the meaner he got, that's when he started hitting, throwing, screaming, doing stuff pretty much every single night, unless we had some miracle person in town or something like that. But then once he would finally pass out about, 2 or 3 in the morning, then he would get a little bit of sleep and he would wake up and, it was just like being in Candyland. He would go get donuts for my daughter and I, and he would go bring teddy bears and flowers and, y'all are just my favorite people, and every single day. So especially like when we first started dating, he would do that. And I was like, wow, thanks. Flower, like now what do you want from me now that you bought this? And even I remember there was a Valentine's Day that he brought home this cute little rose bush and teddy bear for my daughter. And she was just like, and I was like, like, I mean, it was hard to teach her these things too, because I didn't even know, but just the reaction from it, it was like, it was so weird now that I think about it. So now he just doesn't buy me flowers anymore.
Problem solved. A problem solver.
So what I'm hearing here, and maybe the audience hears it as well, is that trust takes time.
Oh, definitely.
Oh yeah.
And
So-
once you think you got it, it still sneaks up on you. You know, you're like, oh wait.
So understand that if you got out of a toxic relationship and you're finally into a healthy one, you have to know that this trust is going to take a little time, because trust is a delicate thing, especially after experiencing a toxic relationship. You might find yourself in a heightened state of alertness all the time, just like Brandy was, right? Almost expecting things to fall apart because that's all you've ever known. And this is a normal response to past trauma. And it's a part of the healing process, but it's unfortunate that you guys had to go through that stuff. And rebuilding trust, it takes time. It takes patience. It's a consistent positive experience that has to happen on a reoccurring basis before you finally let your guard down and realize that the guy that's next to you is on your team and not against you on the other side of the court. You know, a good partner will understand this the way that Dwayne understood it. And just like Dwayne provided you with the reassurance and stability you need, you know, that's what we got to look for in our partners, is to make sure that they can provide that for all of us as well. And gradually, as you see their constant actions aligning with their words,
that's a big one.
You know, and that's where the red flags come in, guys. You know, don't listen so much to what someone says. Watch what they do.
Yeah.
Right.
And Dwayne was a perfect example to help Brandy get through her past traumas by her seeing his constant actions aligning with the words that he said. And then your trust in Dwayne and the relationship and in the relationship itself will start to mend. Another thing that you'll see when getting into a healthy relationship is that you'll start to appreciate the small things. The little things that Dwayne would do. You know, after a bad relationship, you start to, you know, you gain a new appreciation for just the simple acts of kindness and respect that your new partner gives you. You know, a partner's genuine care and respect for your personal boundaries and open communication becomes invaluable. These may seem like small aspects to some people, but when you get out of a bad relationship, they're just not. They are significant, and they significantly contribute to creating a safe and loving environment of the new relationship. They help build that trust and show that your feelings and comfort are priorities. That's what matters a lot. Over time, these consistent positive experiences will help combat all the negative patterns from your past and start to reinforce the understanding of what a healthy relationship, a respectful relationship actually looks like.
Yeah.
One thing I want to talk about too, and I know that Brandy and Dwayne will nod yes when I say it, and I just like some of these things I'm talking about sound lovely, right? But I want you to understand that if you went through something bad the way that Dwayne and Brandy went through something bad, we're going to have to talk about the bad things too. And here's one of the bad things. The bad thing is that your past traumas will start to resurface.
Oh yeah.
You know, encountering a good partner does not erase the trauma from the past bad experience. As much as we would want to, it doesn't do that. And sometimes specific situations or specific discussions can trigger an intense reaction, just like Brandy mentioned. Whenever Dwayne grabbed her hand, it triggered a situation from her past and reminded her of that past experience that she had to go through, hearing this man tell her how he'll just break both of her fingers so that way no one else can put a ring on it. It's crucial here. And here's how Brandy was able to get past it. She understood that it was crucial to have open communication with Dwayne about those feelings that she had. And she made him aware of her triggers and how Dwayne could best support her. And it's equally important to consider seeking professional help for some of you that might need it. Yeah. Look, some of you guys have been through some really bad stuff, and you are not a failure if you feel that a counselor is in order. You're not a failure if you feel that a therapist is in order. No. It doesn't make you a failure. It makes you human. Whenever I got out of my marriage years ago, I did not feel that I was broken, but I still went through therapy. And the reason why I did is just to make sure, because I did not want to bleed on the next good woman that comes into my life. I didn't want her to have to, deal with the past traumas that I may unknowingly bring. So even the guy sitting here talking to you about this right now, a lot of the stuff that I talk to is because I've went through it myself or heard stories like this. I'm not some saint. I also went to therapy. And if I'm humble enough to go, you can go too, especially if you know that deep down inside it would probably benefit you. Another thing that people oftentimes feel whenever they finally find a person worthy of their being in their life is that, and it's so sad, but it's true, you'll finally learn what a healthy love feels like. Yeah. And it's sad because some of you guys have never, ever felt what a healthy love, not love, a healthy love feels like. We have been with women and men who love us, and they did in their own way, but it didn't make it healthy. Some of it was absolutely unhealthy love, to the point in stories that these guys are sharing. After a toxic relationship, you start to recognize the stark difference between love and manipulation. You come to understand that love is rooted in mutual respect, empathy, and support. It's about two individuals cherishing each other's individuality. It's not about one exerting control.
That's it, right there. Right? That's it. It's two individuals that come together, but they're still individuals.
Yeah. It's about cherishing each other's individuality. It's not about control. And it's certainly, to Brandy's earlier point, not about inducing fear in the other person.
Right.
Love, guys, love encourages growth. Love encourages freedom. It's not confinement and dread the way that she had to go through it. It's freedom. And when you heard her tell the story about her going out to a grocery store and feeling a little weird about her phone not blowing up because Dwayne wondering where she is every 10 minutes, it felt foreign to her.
Totally.
To the rest of us, we're like, yeah, that's kind of normal. But for her, because of what she had to go through, it felt uncomfortable. And she walked into the house thinking and expecting him to just jump down her throat for something she had no idea what she did. That is what an unhealthy love feels like. So it encourages the freedom of the other person, encourages the growth of the other person. It helps you define your expectations from a relationship and guides you towards a healthy, more fulfilling, full connection between the two people.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually how the garage incident happened.
The garage incident.
Yeah. And I guess for the viewers out there that don't know, so I don't know if you'd come back, but from the grocery store or what it was, but I got up and I left the room and she followed me, wanted to talk to me. And then I went to another room and she followed me there. And I'm like, all right. So I go out into the garage and she follows me there. And she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm trying to fart. But she was so like, okay, he left the room. He must be getting ready to do something bad. Well, I was going to do something bad. But I wanted to be by myself to do it. She followed me.
Oh, goodness.
You
see, that's a healthy love, Brandy. That's a healthy love.
Totally.
It's one she could take back. She tells me that she wishes that she could take that part back. But I got to say, I've been in unhealthy relationships. And again, mine stems all the way back to my mother. And that's one of the things I say for the moms out there. Be good to your kids. Show them what love is. The fathers of these kids, show them what love is, because they will take that with them. I had a horrible mom, and I could tell billions of stories. It's not. The point is it wasn't a good growing up time for me. And my first and second wife, and anyone I dated, I had a lot of trauma from that. But I still looked at the world a certain way. But those traumas, it's hard for me to trust. It's hard for me to, kind of like let that go and open up. She, of course, wants me to, talk about my feelings on it. And you talked about this on your other show. When you're in a trusting relationship, and one of the reasons why it's so hard is that you never bring that back up when they are open with you. We've talked about that on a previous show. Yeah. But you want to have that person that you can share those intimate details, both of us. I could probably say 8-10 years ago, you would never be on a national podcast talking about, what your ex-husband did to you.
No. Well, and find someone that you can talk to, because we would spend hours and hours, and I mean that's probably what built our relationship first. Was we would just sit on the back porch and just talk for hours. And a lot of ours, I guess it did help that we had some of the same trauma, because I would say, well, this happened, and he understood what I was saying because he had gone through it too, to where some people that I had tried to talk to, they were didn't believe me, or like, oh well, it probably wasn't that bad, or just things like that. But just talking to somebody, that's honestly what got me through all of it. And that's what really made me trust him, is because I could say these things to him and he wouldn't just talk over me or interrupt me. He would actually listen to what I was saying. And if he didn't have a story to compare to, he would ask me questions about it, or he knew when to stop. He knew when I wanted, when I wanted to talk about it more. And sometimes I didn't want to talk about it, but he would not make me talk about it. But, he knew that was what I needed at the time, even though I didn't know I needed it. So just that's so super important, is to find somebody that you can talk to and trust. And I mean, what better kind of relationship would you want?
Yeah. And what happens whenever you guys talk through all those things and you have a common denominator or common stories, that you start to reclaim your independence. And in a healthy relationship, your individuality is not only respected, but it's also celebrated. And that's what you guys have done. You guys, you both were encouraged to pursue passions. You were encouraged to maintain friendships. You were encouraged to have special spaces. That other guy in Dwayne's previous marriages with other women, they didn't encourage you to follow your
God, no.
Oh, wow.
They didn't encourage you to maintain friends, did they?
No.
Oh, I wasn't allowed.
We were never allowed to have friends.
And you certainly weren't able to have personal space in a lot of, right? So in a healthy relationship, those are three things that you really start to notice after you start to go, wow, I'm starting to kind of feel a little more independent. Is that you do get to have a person who honestly, truly, unbridledly wants you to pursue the passions and the things that make you happy. One of the first things we talked about whenever we did this podcast is that Dwayne is a self-proclaimed nerd. He loves the Voltron. He loves the Transformers. Dwayne wasn't exactly going out there and jumping to spending thousands of dollars on, throwback things. Who encouraged that to happen, Dwayne?
She did.
Right.
Yeah.
And so she did exactly what I'm teaching now, is that she was encouraging your passions, and she was allowing you to have your personal space with this room here, and pushing you for your own individuality.
Yeah.
This means that you're not constantly tethered to your partner, but instead you have the freedom to be your own person.
Right.
The respect for individuality starts to feel like a breath of fresh air, especially after a toxic relationship where your independence has been suppressed, right? And this newfound freedom that you guys have found can be incredibly inspiring and incredibly empowering, because you're finally allowed to rediscover yourself while simultaneously building a strong, balanced relationship with your partner.
Yeah. Well, we have a trusting relationship. And we don't put our phones down when the other person walks in the room. All the things that you talked about, like on last week's show, we don't do any of that crap. I mean, She knows my password, I know her password. We have zero secrets. I mean, it's almost embarrassing how open we are with each other. Because what's the point if you don't? I'm like, there's no point. Sure. If I need to have, the only time we have secrets is her birthday month and my birthday month, because we always do something crazy for each other.
And you should see him the whole month of my birthday. He is a total wreck. And I'm like, what are you, like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, I'm doing all kinds of crazy.
Like, oh. And then usually he ends up giving me the present ahead of time because he couldn't keep the secret.
Oh my goodness.
You should have seen him when he proposed to me that day.
He was a mess, wasn't he?
Total mess.
Yeah, I was not the calm, cool guy that I.
He had to go to the car and put his sweater up for one of them.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
But like Well, when she was like, "Hey, her and her sister and stuff are going to go to Vegas for a couple days," and she was like, "Can I go?" Which I understand why she says that, but I'm like, "Have fun," because it's independence. She's able. I trust her. I mean, we have 100% trust, and I know that there's not going to be any issues. I mean, and she knows what's at stake. I mean, we both have our boundaries.
Right.
If I were to cheat on her or she were to cheat on me, there would not be a second conversation. It would be over. And we know it's not being said as a threat. It's not, or it's we both we both love each other. We both want to be with each other. There's no one else that would at least take me off the market. So that's the freedom in the relationship to where it's not a big deal. I know a lot of people are like, I'm not letting my spouse go to Vegas. That's insane. Blah, blah. Well, and that, and that's fine for other relationships. For us, we really were both, here's our cards. Here it is. I don't play games kind of person. I'm like, here you go. This is it. Yeah. This is who I am. This is how I do things. If you want to sign up for it, awesome. If you don't, and there's a red flag, gone. And she's the same way. I mean, she's like, this is who I am. And she has the freedom, and she's a much better person for that, which makes me love her even more.
So a couple weeks back when Brandy was in Vegas, while she was in Vegas, we were on the air doing a broadcast for the podcast, right? Yeah. And Brandy chimed in from Vegas. And Brandy, I don't know if you remember the question I asked you. I'm going to give you one final time to come clean. I said, how many adult beverages you had that day? You claimed 3. The over-under is 3. Come truthful. How many did you have that day? Be honest.
I had 4 the entire time I was there. So
she's a lightweight. She's a lightweight.
Oh, I can have 1 drink and I'm trashed for the rest of the day, though. So
well, actually, Friday I got a little tipsy, and me and some buddies of mine got into a Tesla and drove over 100 miles an hour in 5 seconds.
Dumb
Those things
guys.
are fast out here.
Yes, they are. Oh my God. Yeah, I still hurt because when you're drunk, you don't feel any pain. But yeah, we went out and did the drag strip mode thing, and it on the video is literally 0 to 100 in 5 seconds.
To 105 seconds?
Yeah, went 0 to 100 in 5 seconds. I mean,
what do they do 0 to 60?
I assume 2 seconds. I mean, it was fast. I mean, it was, and we're all there. We're all having fun. I don't know. I gotta say, it's just the freedom of being in the hell. I personally could not have had anywhere close to this relationship in my previous toxic relationships.
Not even one day of it.
Yeah, and I would say, yeah. I mean, well, she gets a phone call from a guy from work about work stuff or whatever. It's not. I'm not. Wait, what's going on here? It's freeing. Just being in a healthy relationship. I just wish so many more people would do that instead of all the stupid games they play.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it's so much fun. It's so fun to actually have somebody that you can be dumb with, that you can make fun of. Well, I mean, but, just all the things that just, I can't imagine not having it. I mean, every day, I can't even really have a fight with him because he makes some dumb joke. And I'm like, I'm really trying to have a fight with you right now, but no, we got to tell fart jokes or, so.
Yeah. I'm
all day though.
I'm on a texting thread with him and I
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yes. Pray for me, Brandy. Pray for
I do. Trust me. I was really glad when you and Eric started talking to him because then I didn't get all of those jokes now.
When you were saying just now that you're not sure why people wouldn't want to get out there and find a healthy relationship in the, in the midst of the bad one that they're in, there's many reasons why people would stay in a toxic relationship, but from all the conversations I've had, the one that keeps reoccurringly coming back into surface of why they don't leave a bad relationship for finding a good one is that it's their self-esteem and fear. Yeah. When you're with the wrong person, they have a way. I mean, they know your hot buttons, right? They know how to take you off center like that. They know how to make you happy, how to make you mad. They know what to say to throw, shade in your face and make you feel bad about this decision that didn't go the right way or that.
Know your secrets.
They know all your secrets. They use it against you sometimes. And what happens is you got into this relationship with a self-esteem some way, and you leave the relationship with your self-esteem in probably one of the lowest points you've ever had. And then you start thinking about how you probably don't deserve to find someone good. And then there's the fear of getting out there. Like there's a comfortableness about being with someone, even though they're not the right person for you. There's actually a word for it, and I don't remember what the word for it is, but whenever scientists had captured someone, imprisoned someone, after enough time, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, you know where I'm going with this. After enough time, that prisoner starts to feel like they don't, like, you can open the gate and go, well, you can leave now, and they don't want to leave anymore. It becomes their reality, it becomes their home, it becomes their comfort. And the prisoner psychologically falls into this realm where they don't want to leave, even though half of them do, but half of them doesn't. And I can't remember what that word is, but there's transferableness to dating relationships where your self-esteem is in such a low point sometimes, to where you start to think, okay, well, she's not so bad. And you know what? He's not so bad, because in the morning, he's probably going to buy me, my daughter, donuts. And, I know that, from 4 p.m. to 2 a.m., I got to stand clear of this guy. But after that, it's not so bad. You start to kind of make excuses for the other person a lot. And almost like, Stockholm syndrome.
That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alicia. Help me two old farts guy, or
thank you.
2.5 old farts.
And Todd too. Todd knew.
Oh, Todd knew. Oh, yeah. Good job, Todd.
Okay,
yep, Todd.
Yeah. So you start having this Stockholm syndrome, right? But one of the things that you will notice, if you finally get past the fear of being alone and being by yourself for a short time until you find someone healthy, because guys, that could be a week or it could be 5 years. No one knows, right? Only God above will know when that time comes, but it will eventually come. And when you finally find that right person, the person that's healthy for you, one of the things that you notice over time being in their space is that your self-esteem starts to improve.
Yeah, you're not on eggshells.
Yeah. When you're with a partner that truly respects and appreciates you for who you are, your self-esteem can significantly improve. They can, you start to finally see your worth. Your opinions are finally starting to be valued. And you finally see this other person loves you, and they love you unconditionally. And that helps you see yourself in a brand new light. Mm-hmm. You start to actually view yourself through their eyes.
Yeah.
They love you so much, and they see you as this woman, or this woman sees you as this man, and they see your potential. And you're looking at them and you're going, she loves me so much and she's so encouraging. I just hope that I can be half the man she thinks I am. And what happens is that after a while, you start to see yourself through their eyes, and you start to recognize your strengths and your unique qualities, the same ones that they cherish about you. And this kind of love and respect, it encourages a positive self-esteem, and it fosters growth. The feeling of finally being valued and the feeling of finally being loved unconditionally is incredibly uplifting. It's incredibly affirming, and it paves the way for a healthier, happier you. And that's what you guys deserve. That's what you guys out there on Facebook and YouTube deserve. Mm-hmm. Another thing that you will notice when you finally meet the right person is that you also become more assertive. For the first time in many years, you'll start to become more assertive. Your feelings and your needs, they may have been constantly dismissed and overlooked in your past relationship. However, in a healthy relationship, it becomes very clear that your emotions are valid and crucial for the first time probably in your life. Right. Your partner actually listens to you. Your partner actually respects your feelings, and they actually consider your needs for once.
Yeah.
I know Dwayne enough to know that man loves you, and he absolutely considers your needs on a daily basis. I know he does.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
And this revelation encourages you to become more assertive in expressing your emotions and articulating your needs without the fear of ridicule or rejection. because Brandy, what would have happened if you had have asked, if you had expressed your feelings and emotions with the other guy. He would have ridiculed you. He would have dismissed you. He would have reminded you 15 ways on why you were an ignorant woman and feeling that way, right?
Oh, yeah.
So when you finally meet someone who understands you, it teaches you that your voice matters. And that feels good, right? And it teaches you that it's okay to prioritize your well-being. And this newfound assertiveness and this newfound advocacy are key elements to maintaining a mutually respectful and fulfilling relationship. And when all that happens, guys, that's when you start to heal. That's when you'll in this new relationship, you'll finally start. Those wounds will finally start to begin to close up. They're not gaping wounds anymore.
Yeah, they start scarring up.
Yeah, and healing from a toxic relationship is indeed a long, challenging journey. And it doesn't take a couple weeks, guys. Some of these things, depending on what you went through, I mean, I can make an argument that you never fully heal.
No. You never heal. I mean, this is going to be scarred over. You're going to have the triggers, but they're diminished. Your partner understands them and takes action or inaction to make sure that, those are softened as much as possible. When you feel like you're getting that whatever, you feel safe enough to say, hey, hun, I'm feeling a little, getting a little whatever. And then you talk about it and work through that. But one thing I do want to talk about is we have what I would consider to be that traditional mean old man rules the house. I say that tongue in cheek and joke about it, but we have a traditional, man, woman, children, also being blended, of course, but relationship. Because I know a lot of, for the female viewers, when they hear that traditional structure, they're like, oh my God, the man's going to lord over me. And that's all the other crap you hear from people. They're like, rule over me and
not the boss.
And I would say, I mean, maybe at first, Brandy, you kind of thought that because
it was really hard.
But when we
because I went from one
yeah.
relationship and then I was all on my own. You know, I had, I think she was 9 or 10. I don't know. Anyway,
9-ish, yeah.
So I literally left with my kid and was trying to figure it out on my own. And then I came into the relationship with him and I was like, I didn't know what was right. I mean, I had no idea. And, you know, and then there was a few things that he said and I was like, okay, like and that was the other thing is after I got more comfortable and he knew all of the things, then, you know, he would say something and I was like, well, that's not how things are supposed to go. And I would have to stop and think like, okay, no, this is a new life. This is right. So it was a very large learning curve for me too, because like I said, I had been mentally trained for at least probably 30 years of my life to listen to certain people and do exactly what they said. I never had my own voice. I never got to make a decision or anything.
What? In this relationship, you make decisions? But isn't it the mean old man that makes
I'm really
everything?
the boss, but I'll let you tell your friends what's going on. But sure.
But
go ahead.
Well, the thing is, you know, women are like, I'm not going to have no man do this. I like the guy has the tough job because he's got he's got all this stuff, but he's a servant leader. Yeah. And if that phrase doesn't make sense to you, you need to look it up and learn it because that's the man's job. Our job is our needs are met last. Our job is to take care of that family, whatever that family makeup is, and it's always the good of the family. It's never our needs. It's the good of the family.
Whenever I hear the word servant leader, what comes to mind is someone that's this is the best way I can describe a servant leader. When someone says, "Follow me, I'm right behind you," that would be a servant leader. Mm-hmm. You know, they're looking after the group, you know, and they're leading, but they're doing it with a fiduciary responsibility for the well-being and health of the people that they're leading. And they're not afraid to get into the trenches. They're not just managing, they're leading. And there's a difference there, right?
Yep.
Definitely.
So, you know, I mean, it just this healing process, I tell you, it takes a while, it does. But a supportive partner.
Yep.
They really help you to gradually release the burdens of the past hurts and shift your focus to the present moment.
Yeah.
They provide a safe space for you to heal at your own pace. They're not rushing,
Exactly.
right?
Yep.
While also showing you what a loving, respectful partnership actually finally looks like. And although the healing process can be painful, it's also an incredibly liberating experience because it allows you to break free from the past traumas. It allows you to regain a little sense of your own self. It allows you to open your heart to a healthier, happier relationship. And once all this starts to happen, once this healing starts to happen, for the first time, you finally start to realize that you deserve better.
Exactly.
Because so many of you guys out there don't think you deserve better. And when you finally find someone that puts you in a safe space, and I'm not only talking about physically, right? I teach these guys whenever we say provide, protect, they understand what that means. But the men, a lot of men think that the protect part means protect physically.
Yeah,
and although they are
one level.
Right. It's more than one level. It's two levels. It's not just that men have a responsibility to protect their women and their children, those that they love, on a physical level. But men never forget the importance of making sure she feels safe on an emotional level. Exactly. Because she can't start or begin to heal if she doesn't emotionally feel safe in your presence, that you're not going to clap back. We were talking before the show, and during the beginning of their relationship, they were telling me a story where they had this glass coffee table in the living room, and Brandy,
early on in the relationship, it was very early on.
Very.
It was early, right? In the infant stages, right? And Brandy's picking this table up. I don't know if I think it was the cleaner or something. She drops it and it shatters into 1,000 pieces. And she because those things are tempered, so they break into the little tiny. Right? Yeah. So she's paralyzed. She stops because she's used to having to deal with the barrage of insults and physicality that precedes something like that happening. And instead, Brandy, what did Dwayne do?
He just laughed and was like, "Oh, that's okay, whatever." And it was the weirdest thing ever. Yeah. It was so weird to me. So weird.
And so when you finally find someone that you don't have to walk on eggshells with, like Dwayne's point earlier, you realize that you do have value and that you do deserve better, because meeting a good person after a toxic relationship, it leads to the crucial realization that you deserve better. And you understand that you're worthy of respect and you're worthy of unconditional love. And you're worthy of a relationship that supports and nurtures you, both the man and the woman. Ladies, we don't express our feelings because you have to understand that we were always taught to just rub some dirt on it, suck it up. But please let me remind you that we have all the same feelings you do. Just because we don't express them in an outward way around you most times doesn't mean that they don't exist. They absolutely exist. And men also need to feel like that, like his woman's got his back and he's supportive, because he's out there fighting the world. He's out there with the burdens of making sure that the family is healthy and safe and provided for, right? So make sure that you don't neglect your man's unspoken need for his emotional security as well. Have his six, have his back. Let him know that no matter what life throws at him, you're there for him. And remind that man that no matter what life throws at him, that you ain't going nowhere. He needs to know that. Your man needs to know that no matter if he loses his job or not, you're not going anywhere. It's you and him to the grave, man, to the grave. Because that's the kind of stuff that keeps us empowered and keep us going when we know that there's a greater purpose other than just ourselves for the reason why we do everything that we do on a daily basis. So these kinds of things, they help establish boundaries. They demand respect, and they refuse to settle for less. These people who find this realization that they deserve better, they start to refuse to settle for less than what they actually deserve. And for the first time, they realize that they deserve something. They recognize their worth as a significant step towards breaking the cycle of toxic relationships that they've been in. And it helps them move forward to a healthy, more fulfilling partnership. And this, guys, this realization is a testament to your resilience, your growth, and your self-love. So my final thought is this: meeting a good partner after a toxic relationship, it can be a very transformative experience, and it can lead to profound personal growth and profound happiness. And it's about breaking free from the chains of your damaged past. It's embracing love. It's embracing respect. And it's embracing those things that you absolutely deserve. It's not going to be easy. It's going to require patience. It's going to require understanding from both sides. But with time, you will find that it's possible to move past the trauma of these bad experiences and embrace the possibility of a healthier, happier life. You guys want to add anything?
I mean, you nailed it. It's just, finding that person and, having your boundaries established and seeing if you're just going out to date and have fun, that's one thing.
Yeah.
If you're wanting to, establish a partnership, a kingdom, whatever you want to call it, interview that person the right way, figure out, if there's the raw material to work with, to build, a good relationship. I mean, I always, I do humor and all that, and that's kind of how I get through the day. When we, those things, things would break or or setbacks. It was always, have the right thinking on it. Put the person in the best light possible, and then work through it. It's just, finding that person. It's going to be tough because there's a lot of toxic people out there. Yeah. There's a lot of people that have the mask on that say they don't want to play games, yet they do. They do. All kinds of games, and people's thinking switches on a dime. But you got to keep trying, interviewing, working to build that kingdom, and you'll eventually find someone. I mean, I didn't think I would find somebody, and here I am.
And you guys are a lovely couple. I'm sure on behalf of everyone who's watching, you guys are the cutest thing ever. And I can tell you both have a lot of respect for each other and love for each other. Folks, if you guys felt that you got some value from today's podcast, please do us a favor and hit that like button, push the subscribe button, and make sure that the bell is on so that way you guys get notified whenever Dwayne, Eric, and myself go live on Dad Talk Today. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in today for the episode of The Big Show hosted by me, Jimmy Smith. I really do appreciate it. On behalf of my co-host, Dwayne and Brandy Ward, keep pushing to be the best version of yourself that you guys can be. We'll see you guys here on Dad Talk Today next Sunday at 6 Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. Until then, you guys have a great week, and we'll see you next time.